Hi, this is writer-director Joseph Doherty, and you're listening to the award-seeking show TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson with a reminder that the next edition of TV Confidential will premiere next week on the station at the usual time. Among other things, we will take a look at the day the running stopped, the final episode of The Fugitive. In the meantime, on the line with us right now is award-winning writer, producer, director, and longtime head of physical production at the USC School of Cinematic Arts, Joseph Wallenstein. Joseph Wallenstein, a man who has not only worked in many capacities in film and television production, but who has also worked with such talented people as Francis Ford Coppola, John Huston, Aaron Spelling, David Jacobs, Marlon Brando, James Caan, Michelle Lee, Donna Mills, Larry Hagman, Michael Filerman, Carol O'Connor, Jerry Lee Lewis, and many, many others. Joe's books include Nothing Dies for Film, a how-to guide on the importance of maintaining safety standards while making a film. Nothing Dies for Film, available Amazon.com, where books are sold online. Joe's also the host of Whatcha Know Joe, new podcast available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find audio. When we went to break, we were talking to Joe about his experience at USC and how you're teaching them things about the business that isn't covered in most other books except for Nothing Dies for Film.
Well, yeah. And, yeah. The other thing is, and I've only come to see this lately, in 2012, my first book was called Practical Movie Making, a handbook for the real world. And at the time, McFarland published it, but they priced it at $35.
Yep.
So I called them. I said, "Look, film students, that's too expensive. Would you cut the price for film?" "Nope, that's our model." Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So it didn't sell well because kids weren't. They're on the hook for $100,000. They don't need to go buy my book for $35. It was a bridge too far. But I'm doing this audio podcast and I'm teaching them how to break down a script. And I realized that in the book, and when I was doing a video podcast, I could show them. Well, I can't show them on an audio. I can talk and tell them, and maybe they get it. So I started to hawk practical movie making again because, in my mind, and I don't mean to be disloyal to USC, which is very good to me, and I really admire them. And one of my podcasts is with the dean. That's coming up in another week. She's terrific. But you come out of school, you owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of these kids. Why wouldn't you, for $35, have something with you that you could always look to help you? Because they're not all going to be direct. We would have these meetings, there would be 350 people in the arena, and we'd say, "How many of you want to direct?" And 349 hands would go up. They all want to direct. You see those same kids 3 years later, maybe 20% or 10%, because they've fallen in love with other things: cinematography, editing, production design. They become writers or producers. So why wouldn't you invest $35 in your own career, is my mentality. We'll see if they do.
Nothing Dies for Film. Joe Wallenstein's latest book is available Amazon.com, where books are sold online. Joe's podcast, Whatcha Know Joe, is available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find audio. You can follow Joe, JoeWallenstein.com. Speaking of Michael Filerman, if I remember correctly, you became a director as a result of working with Michael.
And David, yes, that's true. Yeah. I ended up directing and writing several episodes of Not Landing. Actually directed one I wrote. And then I directed at Hotel. But I did not like episodic directing. And the reason is, as a filmmaker who had come through feature filmmaking, when you direct episodic, the character knows their character better than you do, who's just dropping in for a week or two, right? And I always felt that made me more of a traffic cop than a real director. So I did it, and I did it for a very good practical reason. I sat home one night in August, and the show I wrote, directed, re-aired, and I got a check next week for $20,000. The residuals, you do it. But it wasn't my grand passion. And I think now, especially, the notion of spending $15,000, writing and if producing comes around, I'm in an enviable position, Ed. I can legitimately say to somebody, the only way you're going to get me is to make me the offer I can't refuse. Because I'm really not looking for work. I've been there. I've done that. I've paid my dues. I've run my race. But I still have a functioning brain, and I've turned my attention to fiction novels, which I hope to promote on my podcast when they publish. So, because here's something, I don't know the demographics of your audience, but I'll tell you something I learned. Should have known it, smart guy like me. Retirement, if you have to have purpose. If all I did, because always used to be, Joe, you go play golf. Well, I don't play golf, but thank you very much. If all I did was sit home and read the racing chart or television, I would be older than I am.
Yeah.
So by having purpose, I really have kept my energy going forward. So I think purpose is a serious concern for anybody thinking of retiring.
And to answer your question, my core demo is 45 and up. So boomers, Gen Xers, et cetera. Although about 40% of my listeners are between 22 and 39. So a lot of young people, a lot of college students.
Good. That's good. That's a perfect demographic.
Yeah, it is, and I have been told that the college students that listen to my show appreciate the unique historical aspect that because we don't just talk about stuff that aired in the 70s. We talk about why shows like Knots Landing paved the way for dramatic television on today, both on a network and cable and digital level. So there's a lot of contextual information involved in that as well.
It was such a narrow field in those days. Now with streaming, it's a whole new horizon out there. Young people coming along now are lucky in a couple of ways. A, streaming opens up market, but B, if you're holding a cell phone and it's an iPhone 15 Pro, you have good optics in that phone. You can make movies with your iPhone.
Yep.
The iPhone was considered what do they call it? The democratization of cinematography, because you weren't relying on a $2 million Panavision camera. You can make movies with your cell phone, and kids do. Whether they're going to play at IMAX is another story, but if you want to express yourself, you can. You got an iPhone, a computer, and a good idea, and you are a filmmaker. Now, you still have elements, depending on the nature of the film. You may need a crew, you got a certain number of actors, you may need locations, legal work, all that stuff. You still got all the...
And
there are possibilities now that just didn't exist.
Yeah, and to go back to a basic thing that you said earlier, you have to be aware of the sun in the area that you're shooting in today and know that, okay, you may have a 25-minute window to get the shot you need, so you got to make sure everything's ready at the time you need it to be ready, because the sun is not going to stop from setting.
Correct, 100%. And you know what? If somebody said, you get Joe to give you his one sentence that he believes, because I got a million of them. They used to call them Joeisms.
Yep.
They did a whole chapter about Joeisms. But the thing I most believe is prep is everything. Prep is everything. Not just I'm going to do it, but what am I going to do if it don't work the way I think it's going to work? Prep is everything. It's the only thing that can set you free in the professional filmmaking context. By the way, if I might add, the Whatcha Know Joe podcast, it's very easy for people to misspell it. So may I spell it for your audience?
Absolutely.
Lowercase, WhatChaKnow space Joe, Joe. In other words, not what do you know, it's Whatcha Know Joe.
It's Whatcha Know Joe.
Right.
Whatcha Know Joe, available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find audio. Joe will be back next week for part 2 of our conversation. He'll share a few more stories with us about his career in movie and TV production, including the story of how he nearly single-handedly ruined production of The Godfather. All that and more when we bring you part 2 of our conversation with Joseph Wallenstein next week on TV Confidential.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hi, guys and girls. This is Kathleen Bradley, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
We have about a minute left this segment, enough time to tell you that if you're a fan of Prince or know someone who is, a rare, newly remastered release of Prince's iconic 1987 concert film, Sign of the Times, hits IMAX theaters nationwide for 1 week only beginning Friday, August 29th. Widely celebrated for capturing Prince at his creative peak, Sign of the Times blends electrifying concert footage with cinematic storytelling, powerful visuals, and genre-defining sound to deliver a cinematic experience worthy of his genius. It was, and still is, truly the next best thing to seeing Prince live. Only now it's enhanced in the most epic format available. Prince, Sign of the Times, Prince, Sign of the Times playing in IMAX theaters nationwide for 1 week only beginning Friday, August 29th. A reminder that Harry Dean Stanton, Hollywood Zen Rebel, available wherever books are sold through University Press of Kentucky. You can also find Harry Dean Stanton, Hollywood Zen Rebel, Amazon.com, where books are sold online, while Joseph Wallenstein's latest book, Nothing Dies for Film, also available Amazon.com, where books are sold online. Joe's podcast, Whatcha Know Joe, available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. Ed Robertson, about Tony Figueroa, Donna Allen, Phil Grice, and Susan Silver. Thank you so much for listening. Stay healthy, stay safe. We'll talk to you next time on TV Confidential.